Paul Walker died in November 2013 in a car crash alongside his close friend and business partner, Roger Rodas. The news devastated fans around the world, and tributes poured in from Hollywood, car enthusiasts, and ordinary people alike. While the public remembered him as Brian O'Connor from Fast and Furious, his family and friends were faced with the painful task of going through what he left behind. That was when they discovered his private garage in Valencia, California, a place almost no one knew existed. Inside the locked facility, they uncovered more than 30 rare and valuable cars, lined up side by side. To outsiders, it looked like a dream showroom. But to those closest to Paul, it was something deeper. The place where he spent countless hours, away from cameras, living out his true passion. The collection was extraordinary. Paul owned 5 1995 BMW M3 Lightweights, a limited edition performance model with only about 125 ever produced. Owning even one was impressive. 5 was unheard of. Parked nearby was a Saleen S7, an American-built hypercar made almost entirely from carbon fiber, known for its brutal speed and extreme rarity. He also had Ford GTs, several Porsche 911s, and, naturally, a Toyota Supra Turbo that quietly echoed his iconic Fast and Furious role. But the centerpiece of the collection was his lineup of Nissan Skyline GTRS. Paul had personally imported multiple versions of the R32 and R34 models from Japan. These were not ordinary cars. Each one had been tuned with racing modifications, aftermarket parts, performance upgrades, and handwritten notes documenting test runs and adjustments. Some had logs of suspension settings, turbo changes, and handling feedback written in Paul's own hand. One R34, believed by some to be tied to the Fast and Furious films, had never been registered for street use. It was kept hidden, a private treasure. Ownership of the cars was complicated. Many of them weren't registered in Paul's personal name, but under Always Evolving, the performance shop and racing business he co-founded with Roger Rodas. On the surface, Always Evolving appeared to be a luxury garage for car customization. Behind the scenes, it also acted as the legal umbrella holding dozens of Paul's rare vehicles. This structure protected his privacy and gave financial benefits, but after his death, it created confusion. Some cars had titles under his estate, some under the company, and others were entangled with loans or business debts. Sorting them out was a legal maze. On top of that, several cars carried legal issues of their own. Many of Paul's Skylines were never officially approved for U.S. roads. He brought them in under the show and display exemption, which allowed certain rare imports for exhibitions only. They couldn't be registered like normal vehicles. At least one Skyline had questionable paperwork that would have failed American emissions and safety standards. Paul didn't import these cars. To drive them daily, he wanted them preserved in their pure Japanese form, unaltered and uncompromised. He even helped fund efforts to clear one Skyline through customs legally, not for profit, but out of respect for the car's heritage. Beyond the cars themselves, Paul's garage held something even more personal. Inside many vehicles, family and friends found handwritten notes, scribbled on scraps of paper, post-its, or tucked into glove compartments. These weren't reminders or maintenance schedules. They were thoughts. In one Skyline, he had written, "Feels like flying. Smooth, angry, alive." In one of the BMW M3 Lightweights, a note read, "Might be the cleanest one left. Don't flip it." The most emotional discovery came in a Skyline GTR, where a post-it in blue ink said, "This one's for Meadow. She'll drive it one day." It was a promise to his daughter, a future he never got to see fulfilled. Not all the cars were finished. Some were projects in progress. A classic muscle car had a to-do list scrawled directly on its windshield. A Datsun 240Z sat gutted, stripped bare, and waiting for restoration, believed to be his next personal build. An old Mustang was mid-restoration, a gift he had been preparing for a friend. These weren't abandoned. They were dreams interrupted. Paul spent countless nights in the garage, covered in grease, working with tools, and debating setups with fellow enthusiasts. He didn't just own cars, he built them, tuned them, and poured himself into every detail. Among the exotic supercars and tuner legends, some vehicles carried special labels. Sticky notes marked with RO or ROWW were found taped to dashboards. These referred to Reach Out Worldwide, the nonprofit disaster relief organization Paul founded quietly in 2010. Unlike many celebrities, he didn't promote it heavily. He simply wanted to help. The notes meant that some cars were intended to be auctioned off to fund disaster relief. A modified Toyota Supra and a Boss 302 Mustang were specifically marked for future charity events that never took place. These weren't posthumous tributes. These were Paul's own plans, still waiting when he passed. The collection was estimated to be worth around $18 million. That level of value brought legal battles. Paul's father served as the executor of his estate, while his daughter Meadow, only 15 at the time, was the main heir. Together, they had to navigate a web of paperwork, disputes, and creditor claims. Some cars were caught in ownership disputes, others had missing titles, and some were quietly set aside. In 2020, 21 of Paul's cars were auctioned off, raising more than $2.3 million. The auction drew collectors from around the world. However, not every vehicle was sold. Some were retained by the family, and others disappeared from public record, never seen again. For Meadow, the garage was never about money. Walking into that space was like stepping back into her father's world. Radios were still tuned to his favorite stations. A wrench was left beside an unfinished engine bay. Sticky notes in his handwriting were scattered through glove compartments. It felt as if he had just stepped out and never returned. For his friends, the hardest part wasn't the value of the cars. It was seeing the unfinished projects, the dreams that would never be completed. The garage also carried reminders of Roger Rodas, since some of the cars were tied to him as well. That made it even harder. 2 lives lost, and a shared passion left frozen in place. The discovery of Paul Walker's garage revealed that his love for cars wasn't just a Hollywood role. He didn't flaunt his collection online or seek media attention. He kept it private, almost secret. It was his sanctuary. The cars told the story of a man who valued engines, builds, and craftsmanship. Some cars connected to his film career, others to his personal ambitions, and many to his humanitarian work. The garage showed the real Paul Walker, a man who wasn't just acting as a car enthusiast on screen. He was one in real life. His legacy wasn't only in the movies he starred in, but also in the engines he built, the projects he started, the charity work he planned, and the notes he left behind for his daughter.